You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
On the big story this morning, we talked to somebody that is a part of the NRM task force for Buganda, but he's also running for MP after running for a couple of other positions. The man, who are we talking about? We'll unveil him when we get back for the big story. This morning I'm hosting Peter Sematimba. My friends like to call him Peter Sematimba.
I wonder why.
Good morning. What do you call yourself? How do you pronounce your name?
In my mind, my first name is Sematimba. I'm very proud of being African. You know, you don't run into Europeans calling themselves Sekanwaji, Nakanwaji, so I call myself Sematimba first, then my second name is Peter.
How are you? You have been quiet after, previously 2011 and so on. You went quiet. What have you been up to?
Business, expanding my business empire, and taking care of my family, and loving God. Preparing for this electoral season.
Preparing for this electoral season.
Yes.
Some people think, but this gentleman, first you ran for Kampala mayor, you failed at it, then you went for division mayor,
and I won that.
And you won that. Then you came back for Kampala mayor, and you failed at that. Now you're running for Busiro South MP. And they say, hey, you're here, you're there, why?
Well, if you understand the way politics works, someone who understands it will realize that I'm going up the steps. Started with Kampala mayoral as an independent, that didn't work out. I ran for mayor of Rubaga, I won that. And tried out for Kampala again, that didn't work out. And so now I've stepped above the mayoral point, I've gone for MP. Busiro South, so I'm just climbing the ladders.
So this is bigger than, say, Kampala Lord Mayor?
It is certainly big. This is the second highest, because in the Ugandan system, this is the second highest elected position. The highest elected position is the position of the President of Uganda. The next to that is Member of Parliament.
And then after that, that's not in our constitution.
You go read your studies.
Well, except when you talk about the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature.
I'm not talking about the arms of government. I'm talking about the elected officers and the hierarchy in which they sit. First, president. Second, members of parliament. Third, LC5s, mayors, Lord Mayor of Kampala. And fourth, LC3s, and so on and so forth. And that is the truth.
You said that when you lost the race, you decided to go into business and so on. I've had some people say that this man, when he fails to make it, instead of being around with the people and maybe hearing from them, trying to ameliorate them, he goes mind his own business and then bounces back for an election when he seeks that. What happens when you lose? I thought it's a good thing that you stick around and say, well, I lost, but let me see how I can serve you, even though I didn't get the title or the position.
I have been serving the people of Uganda. You see, there's a difference between making your presence in an electoral season and in a non-electoral season. When it's not an electoral season, it's not time to be campaigning and doing stuff like that. It's time to work. And I've been working by helping people go to school. I own a couple of charitable organizations, one of which is Wanyana Sematimba Foundation. In that foundation, what we do is we help kids go to school by paying half school fee, giving them half school fees, bursaries. So I've been very busy sending over 30,000 kids to school. I also own an organization that helps feed the homeless kids. We feed about 500 kids every week. I've been doing that for the last 5 years. And then a lot of other things which are helping the country move forward. Also creating jobs and opportunities and educating people and being a good mentor and preaching the word of God. So I've been very busy serving our nation. You don't have to serve it by making political noise.
And that's the point I was going to get to. You're a good businessman, you're a philanthropist, you're helping people out there. Why are you getting muddled up in this politics that can, have a lot of mudslinging and everything that comes with it? Some think, stick to business, which you're good at, help people without the rumble and tumble that comes with politics and so on. Why is this so important to you?
There are certain things that a leader can do in the private sector. Very important things, and many people have done that. Bill Gates is doing an incredible job in the private sector and he's changed the world and so on and so forth. But there are certain things that certain nations need in the public sector. And I think Uganda can use some good leadership, some more good leadership in the public sector. And so I'm coming to help fill that void. And I wish I could encourage other people like yourselves, other people with good ideas, good energy, to come in and make our leadership, the quality of leadership in this country better. Because the responsibility of public leadership is very solid in where a nation is going. Most of the nation's resources are managed by public leaders. And so a lot of how fast a country will grow, a lot of how well a country is run is decided by the quality of public leadership, and I think it can be better, and so I've come to play my part in making public leadership better.
Peter, isn't that where we make a mistake? When we think that everybody that maybe looks like they've got a good head on their shoulders should run into politics. I tend to imagine that everybody can contribute to the betterment of this country from wherever they are at. You know, if I am a journalist, let me be the best that I can be. I don't necessarily have to be in that house. Well, there it is. You know, the August House to create a better environment for this country, to contribute to this country. I don't think I need to run away from, say, being a teacher, being a doctor. I can contribute to the betterment of Uganda from there.
I totally disagree with you. And why do I disagree with you? It's because, like I said, most of the resources of a nation, the resources that determine what happens to our kids, our infrastructure, our economy, those resources are handled by public leaders. And the better public leaders you have, the better the resources of a nation will be used, and therefore the better a nation will develop and become a greater place for its people and its neighbors.
I agree with you to an extent, but maybe where I see a blooper is we seem now to be putting leaders at a pedestal, giving them too much authority, in that now we get extricated, yeah? I elect Peter Sematimba is in a position of authority. I do not call him, you know, to order. If, say, he wants to pass a budget of 50 billion and I'm thinking that's too much, 1 billion is better, I, as a citizen, wherever I am at, I should have the authority to say, Peter, no, you're not going to do that. But what I seem to hear you say is that the leaders will wield so much authority they can do whatever they want. And yet, no, I can call the shots from here as
I
a
have
citizen.
not said that. What I have said, and I repeat, but I'll also address what you just talked about, is that most of the resources of a nation are controlled by the public leaders. Therefore, the better quality public leaders you have, the better for the nation. However, that does not mean that you, the private citizen, should then shun your responsibility in working with your leaders to build a better nation. Quite frankly, as a leader, I'm representing, should I be elected member of parliament, I'll be representing the people of Busiro South. That does not mean that therefore they should stop putting their ideas to me so that I put their ideas into parliament. No, it means that we work as a team to build a better nation. But it's easier to build a better nation when the leaders are the best quality that you can find in a nation.
You're running for Busiro South Member of Parliament. I'll tell you, I get very disappointed when I sit on a platform like this, or even, you know, some social forums, and somebody walks up to me and they say, Joel, I'm running for this position, Member of Parliament for this. I ask them why. And even after 2 hours, many of them fail to give me a cogent enough reason why. I get so disappointed, but also worried. Yeah. So if I were to ask you, why are you running for Busiro South MP?
And you're very right to be concerned, worried, and disappointed. And as a matter of fact, when I'm talking to the constituents out there, I tell them that, listen, make a difference between people that are looking for a job and those that have come out here to serve you. I have come to serve. I'm not looking for a job. So why am I running for Member of Parliament? 2 reasons. Number one, I believe that I can contribute to this country moving in the right direction with the ideas, the energy, the exposure that I have as a legislator, which is the main job of a Member of Parliament. But on top of that, being a Member of Parliament is a position that is very powerful, and if one added value to that position as a leader, one can do so much more for his or her constituency. In my case, I want to be very involved in causing development for all and increasing the personal wealth of individual households. I have access to and I have the capacity to what we call in Uganda okusaka, a lot of things that we need in Busiro South. We need to help kids go to school more. We need to make education easier. We need to create new jobs. There are a lot of areas where people don't have electricity, they don't have running water. In some areas they don't have enough pit latrines, many of which simply point to poor leadership at the very local level. But leadership which can be changed when a good leader like myself comes into play.
Sometimes,
so to answer your question, and I hope you acknowledge why I'm here, is one, to offer better legislation for our country so that we move in the right direction. But on top of that, to add added value on my position and responsibilities and cause greater development for the people that I'll be representing, the people of Busiro South, vis-a-vis infrastructure, jobs, school, education, and medical service delivery.
I'm imagining some of your constituents out there listening to you, watching you, and they hear these awesome ideas and they're thinking, exactly how are you going to do it? Because sometimes I get the feeling that people running for parliament are not too sure what the role of an MP is. They'll promise roads, they'll promise schools, and so on. And you're thinking, how exactly are you going to deliver these things? So these good ideas, I think they're awesome. But when we get to the specificities and the plausibility of them, how are you going to make these things happen?
Like I said earlier, the main job of a parliamentarian is to be a legislator. And I'm a good orator, I have great ideas, and these are ideas that I will be fronting in parliament. However, like I also said earlier, it's a position which, if the leader, in my case, me, is willing to add value and use that position properly, you can use this position to solicit, seek, and find a lot of help in very many different ways. For example, I have lots of friends through whom I can acquire, let's say, used computers for kids that want to learn how to use IT in my areas. We can acquire technology from very many countries to help us get cleaner water, to help us put together toilets for the areas where we don't have enough of them. I can use my skills and that position to acquire ambulances. We don't have a single ambulance in Busiro South. All four Gombololas don't have an ambulance. There's a lot that you can do as a creative, added value type leader in this position to solicit and seek a lot of help, which can then be turned around to change people's lives for the better. I am very close, for example, to the guys that are in charge of wealth creation, and I'm very aggressive. And I'm going to make sure that we get chickens and all these other things that we put out there, that wealth creation puts out there for people to start increasing their household income. Chickens to breed for free of charge, goats to breed for free of charge. They're there. We just need an aggressive leader who's also a good organizer to organize our people and bring in those facilities and things and make people's lives move forward. So a lot can be done if the leader wants to work and is willing to work.
On February 18th, when you go to the polls, you'll either come out as winner or loser. I'm sure you're prepared for either. If it so happens that you fail to make it as Busiro South Member of Parliament, these ideas that you talk about, you say you have friends wherever, that can help, bring used computers, etc., do we see you, regardless, do these things as well, even though you fail to make it as Member of Parliament? Because I'd like to think that as a leader, even though you don't get position, you can still do these things. If your target was to ameliorate the people of Busiro South, to help them out, get out of their squalor and so on, whether or not you get this position, will you do these things for them?
Yes, I will. And like I said, when I lost the position for mayor, I've given you an example of the things that I kept doing for people to keep sure that our country moves forward, that I play a positive role in moving Uganda forward. So yeah, I will continue serving the people. That's really why I'm here. It's to serve the people.
How would you rate the 9th Parliament? I'm sure you have been, wherever you have been, traveling the world and so on, you've been monitoring the happenings here. How would you rate it?
I don't really want to go there. I've just been surprised by some of the issues that they thought were important to discuss, like mini skirts and whatever, as opposed to better education, better health delivery and so on. But I don't really want to go there. I don't want to judge them.
And some again will say that when you give that opinion, and there are some that have even poured a lot more vitriol, you're trying to be kind, some have looked at it as a total disappointment and they feel maybe that's not where change is going to happen. Does it worry you that you might get therein, get swallowed up by people who maybe don't have as good enough ideas as you think? You say, well, what's important? They didn't focus on that becomes the same bag that eats the 10th Parliament you want to join?
Well, I'm a man of faith. I've noticed that a lot of parliamentarians are not coming back. They were thrown out in the primaries. So probably the public is saying something about their lack of happiness on their services, vis-a-vis their services. But as a man of faith, I'm hoping that we will get good people out there with whom we will build a better country.
You're a part of the Buganda task force that is campaigning, canvassing for votes for candidate Yoweri Museveni.
Yes,
What are you telling people out there?
I'm part of the task force that's called Buganda for Museveni. And what we're telling people out there, and what we're doing with people really, is we're celebrating what President Museveni has done for Buganda, for the Buganda region. He's done a lot of good things, including maintaining Buganda, the Buganda region as the economic hub for this nation. And therefore, for those of us that live in this area, it's a lot easier to live here, to make money, to grow. The infrastructure has improved, the capacity to make money has improved. The peace is very good. And so we want to reward him and celebrate him by creating rallies which are not your typical political rallies as he seeks his, as we seek his votes for the February 18th election. But we want to celebrate him and thank him for what he's done for Buganda and the Buganda region. This includes, of course, making sure that the monarchy is around and is safe and moving forward. So we think we in the Buganda region have had a great leader. We don't want him to struggle for votes. We want him to know that we celebrate him, we support him, and he can count on a landslide victory from the Buganda region.
Some Buganda will say that he has been the Achilles heel of Buganda. They keep talking about the Ebiafe, they've returned 1 or 2 properties here and there. People still feel, Buganda especially, some of them, you know, these traditional ones, they feel he's not done an incredible job in upholding this monarchy as you talk about it, returning Ebiafe and so on. Some feel Buganda is dejected by President Museveni.
There are a few people that think that way, but they are the minority. They are the great minority. That's why Museveni has always won Buganda. Very well, by the way. Most people do recognize that Rome was not built in a day. You don't get everything you want in one day, in one sitting. It takes time. But most Buganda recognize that hadn't it been for President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the kingdom of Buganda would not be here. The kingdoms would not be here. And in Buganda we say, Intasima, Ibulajiwa. So we recognize that the man did return Bwakabaka Buganda. Not only that, he returned Butikiro, he returned Lubiri, he returned Bulangi, over 600 Biapas, and with the kind of attitude that he has expressed and the love for Buganda that he has expressed, surely there's hope that as negotiations go on, one can expect more. We're dealing with the right man, and he has shown his goodwill for Buganda in mighty, mighty ways.
Let me flip the coin a little bit. Is it not selfish when there is this push, you know, from leaders like you, who one would think, let's look at the national level and look, I want Buganda to get better. I was born here, I live here, I am Senyonyi. But is it not selfish when we seem to be pushing just for the Buganda agenda as opposed to Uganda? It's good that Buganda gets better, but how about northern Uganda? How about the east? How about, you know, the west and so on? Shouldn't we be looking at the bigger picture?
We are looking at the bigger picture, but the reason this task force is called Buganda for Museveni is because His Excellency has finished his rallies all over Uganda. He has now entered, yesterday he entered Buganda, and this is where he's doing his last rallies. So the focus of his political rallies, his campaign right now, is Buganda. And so this task force is here to make sure that the political rallies for His Excellency in Buganda, his last leg, his last campaign leg, is blast, a positive blast. So that's why the task force is named Buganda for Museveni, because this is where the last rallies are taking place.
Sometimes I look at this man and I think you people are punishing him too much. Clearly he's not a young man. You can see, you know, with age you get frail and so on. The succession debate, which within your party is run away from worryingly so. I mean, I look at the likes of Peter Sematimba, you look like you can be president of this country. At what point do these discussions do get to come up that one man is not burdened continuously? When does the tide get to change? Because a time will come when he's not able to go further, and if this discussion does not happen now, it will be troublesome then. Does that worry you?
Not right now, because the NRM is a democratic party, and so is the nation of Uganda. So when the party chooses him as our flag bearer, and he willfully says, okay, I'll do it, then it's a good thing. And when the nation chooses him as our leader, and he says, okay, I'll do it, then it's a good thing.
When do you think would be a good time for him to retire?
When he's tired and people democratically say they want him to retire.
You see, this country has not had a smooth transition. It's been tumult after tumult. Looking at our history, he's been around for 30 years. How do we, because you see, and that's why I disagree with those that want to extricate the NRM from, this kind of talk. They say, no, those ones, they're the problem, let's throw them out. I think if there be any discussion about a transition, the NRM has to be brought on board. You cannot extricate them, really.
Definitely.
Yeah? So, how do you think we can do this, bequeath this country a good transition? Because it bothers me that my country has not seen a good, smooth transition. I would want that to happen at some point.
I think you shouldn't worry about it too much right now. Certainly discussions are taking place within the party, I would imagine, but because they're internal discussions, they're not public discussions.
Shouldn't they be public maybe? Should Uganda be brought on board because we are the people that you're seeking to lead and so on?
At some point when it becomes a national debate, yes. But right now it's an internal party decision as to who continues to be our flag bearer. And for now, our flag bearer is His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Should we as a party choose that we want to bring in another leader, that needs to be decided internally. And then when the different parties bring on their different representatives at the right time, then it will become a national debate. But for now, for us, it's an internal thing. By the same token, I'm sure it's an internal discussion amongst the other parties too.
Many of the folks that President Museveni was with in the bush, some have either retired, others are in the opposition, and they've probably moved on to other things. He is now surrounded by young tucks, young at least compared to him, the likes of you, the Todongs of this world, and so on. What does that speak to you? That the people that were with this man back then either are in the opposition or have retired, have moved on, and now he has young people around him, he's still the last man standing?
I've not decided to interpret anything weird, strange out of that. But I'm grateful that young people like myself are now around him. Perhaps that speaks of the fact that in a certain respect, a transition is taking place. The younger people are starting to take responsibility in different parts of leadership of the party and therefore this country.
Do you see a point where young people, and this talk keeps coming up, that within your party, for example, young people are being appointed here and there. Some will think that these are just a few positions, a few crumbs off the table that are doled out to these young people. Do you feel young folks, 40s and the likes, are really being brought on board?
I think so.
Gently?
I really think so, not just in the party. Really, if you take the opportunity and look at what's happening in many of the important organizations that make up this nation's government. If you look at URA, for example, it's loaded with young people. If you look at the Ministry of Finance, loaded with young people. There's lots of, if you look at Uganda Police, loaded with young people. If you look at the leadership in the army, a lot of young people have taken over. So there is a transition, a generational transition that has started taking place.
Some will look at, what the NRM has done in the last 30 years. And there's a parliamentary committee, statutories, government assurances and statutories that did come up with a report that said President Museveni had accumulated a good number of promises. They said they were to the tune of about 11 trillion shillings. Then an NGO said actually, according to their tabulations, it was about 25. Does it not worry you that you're going to these people and telling them vote for candidate Museveni, but there's been a plethora of promises that have not been fulfilled, and nearly every election season the promises are renewed and not fulfilled?
I think what you want to focus on, pessimistic people look at a half full glass as half empty, and we optimistic people look at a glass as half full. What you want to focus on is what has the man been able to deliver as a leader, as a president. We haven't had a better leader than President Museveni in Uganda.
Well, we haven't had a leader different from him for the last 30 years.
True, but we've had very many presidents, and so I continue with my comparison that ever since independence, we've never had a president as good as him, period. If you look at what he's delivered for this country in terms of infrastructure, in terms of education, in terms of health delivery, in terms of attracting investors, and even compare his track record and the track record of Uganda to a lot of the countries that surround us. He's done a great job. No one is perfect. I am not, you're not, no one is perfect. So let's focus on the good things that Uganda has experienced, the good thing that Uganda continues to experience, the growth that Uganda continues to enjoy, and use that as a standing point to have hope that many of that which he has promised to deliver and is yet to deliver will also be delivered, like he has delivered the great things that he already has.
Do you not think we can have a better leader than him?
I hate to be too theoretical about politics. People were that theoretical about Egypt, and now they wonder what happened. People were that theoretical about Tunisia, about Libya, about Syria, about Iraq, and look what's going on there. About Somalia, look what's going on there. So I think...
Well, it doesn't have to be an uprising. It could be through the ballot or that kind of thing.
I hope that when it's time for Uganda to get a new leader, that the leader will be an incredible leader. So I do hope for great leadership for this country. Therefore, that means that I am hopeful that there can be great leadership to continue the great legend that he has set.
You are running for Busiro South MP, and we have talked a bit about that as we wrap up. You see, we have had too many promises. People who speak as well as you do, maybe even better, promise these amazing things. When they get into that August House, they become a total disappointment. You just agreed earlier on that there's going to be a high turnover. Many of those folks are not returning. Why? They were voted for overwhelmingly. People believed in them only to be let down.
Right.
Why should they believe you?
I think what I've been trying to educate people in Busiro South as I'm looking for my vote is people have been making the mistake of electing people based on promises and only promises. And I've been challenging the people of Busiro South to make a difference this time. And what's the difference? This time around, don't vote someone just because of the promises, but vote for someone because they have the capacity to deliver. And that capacity has been proven by a track record of having delivered in the past over a long period of time. And then in my case, I go and show them what I've been able to do. My involvement in putting together one of the first FM radio stations in Uganda, Capital FM. My involvement in setting up 88.8 Radio Uganda, 89.2 Radio Uganda, my setting up 88.5 Super FM. The businesses that I've run, bringing in Valentine's Day to Uganda, starting Ebitobero and Kuka, and all these things. These things show that I have a track record of not only thinking about great ideas, but making them work and actually delivering. And it's that capacity to deliver that sets me apart from all the guys that I'm running with. None of them has a track record like mine. And none of...
You know, that's the same thing they say.
No.
About all their opponents, including you.
No, it's not. In my case, look at the guys that I'm running with, look for their track records of accomplishments, and try to compare it with mine.
We need to wrap this up. What percentage points do you think you'll get on February 18?
Well, listen, I'm running with four. I'm running against 4 people, so we're a total of 5. I'll be happy to get 70%.
I hope that I'll host you maybe on February 20th here to tell me how you won and not why you lost.
I look forward to that day too.
Peter Sematimba, been a pleasure. Thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, and we wish you well.
Thank you. By the way, please give Mr. Yuri Kaguta Museveni a vote.
Myself?
Yes, you.
You still have between now and then to convince me a lot more. And that's the same thing I tell all the other candidates.
I will work on you, and I'm asking the same of all of you watching us. President Museveni for president.
Well, there you are. There's 8 candidates that are out there campaigning. Let's listen to what it is that they're saying and make up our minds as well as we possibly can. Coming up is my opinion. Forget who this quality is attributed to. Fool me once, the shame is on you. Fool me twice, the shame is on me. And I get the feeling that many people out there have been fooled by one too many people that have promised them this, and they give them their vote for LC, for MP, for whatever position it is. I think we need to be a little bit more observant. Let's take time and listen to these guys. You know, there are probably, I don't know, 5, 10 people that are campaigning to become your member of parliament. Who is saying what? What resonates with you as an individual? I think that's very important. But even more importantly, because I tend to think the reason why we get disappointed when we give these people our votes, they get to parliament and they become a total letdown, is because we do not follow them up. We tend to imagine they wield all the power. We cannot call them to order. We cannot hold them accountable. Why? Why do we think we should be that timorous, that fearful? I think Uganda needs to go away from that. Somebody makes good promises, they look like a believable leader, give them your vote. That's a good thing. But when they make it to parliament, when they make it to State House, can we begin to hold these leaders accountable? Because sometimes, it is lonely at the top. If there's nobody to tell them, hey, you're getting it wrong here, this is not what you promised, little wonder they keep letting us down. So maybe we are part of the problem. And I say that, as seriously as I possibly can. When we send leaders to these positions and we don't hold them accountable, that's what happens. So hopefully we can get better. So make sure that on February 18th, you go and cast your ballot. That's an important thing to do. Go queue up in the sun, in the rain, for your country, for Uganda. And let's see how Uganda gets better. That's a big story for today. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Joel Senyonyi. Coming up in a bit is Everyday Life.